Okay, for all the LinkedIn family and friends out there, I want to start off by saying I love Adam. Okay, and probably one of my become one of my best friends, and he's always trying to help me become better as a person because God knows I need it. Um, and one of the things he does as a Uber professional coach for junior leaders and the rest of the world is he sends me things, and he's like, "I need you to read this." I'm like, it's NLP to this to that to Tony Robbins. I go, so one of the other ones here is a book, and it's basically called How Big Things Get Done, written by Bent Flyberg. I probably pronounced that wrong, and Dan Gardner. So I haven't read it, Adam, not yet. You know that. But can you please explain to us the benefit of this book?
Okay, so this book, I think, is a very important book. So let's just talk about who Bent Flyborg and Dan Gardner are first. So Bent Flyborg started at Oxford University in the UK. He was a professor who started the Mega Project Management Master's course. So he's a proper academic. I think he's from Denmark originally, and he spends his time between Denmark and the UK, I think. But he's probably one of the most prolific researchers, academic researchers with published papers in project management. And he advises governments, particularly the UK government. He's testified before Parliament about why the big projects keep failing. And Dan Gardner is a Canadian. So again, I'm a Canadian, so all power to him. He's a great columnist and observer and political observer. And they have written a pretty good book here. Now, let me just give you a few stats from this book, right? They state, now bear in mind, the research that is incorporated in this book is probably some of the deepest research you can have on project management. And it's not just like one or two projects, it's hundreds, sometimes thousands of projects right here. So some of the outcomes from their research are only 0.5% of projects complete on time, on budget, and on benefit, i.e. as specified, right?
Yep.
Only 8.5% of projects complete on time and budget, and only 47.9% of projects complete on time. Right. That sucks. Now, I've been a client when I was a development manager. I never once said, here's a contract, I'm okay if it's late 6 months. I'm okay with 1,000 defects. I've never said that once, right? No one has, right?
Right.
So somehow, and just to give you an example, there's a brand new sparkly airport in Abu Dhabi called the Midfield Project. That thing was 9 years late and $700 million over budget. No one got fired. Nobody. Now there's all sorts of politics wrapped up in that. So the question they're trying to answer here is, why is it like this and what can be done about it, right? So one of the things they talk about is reference forecasting, i.e. going back and studying a big database of costs and probabilities. So spoiler alert, most jobs are 40% over budget. So like, if you're, just think about this, if you're planning an extension to your house or building a house, you need to allow an extra 6 months and 40% more money. Don't start unless you're willing to do that, right?
Yep.
But the problem is this, right? And in the UK, they've been building these, there's a new high-speed railway they're trying to build. They just cancelled part of it because it's over budget. They've been building and renewing all the subways in the UK, and these jobs are difficult. They're really difficult to engineer and deliver with, high cost labor, and they're all late. And he testifies about this. So his thing is, there's a political dimension as well, right? One of the things they say is, if a politician stood up and said what it would really cost and what it would take to do something, nothing would get built.
No.
You almost have to lie. It's like the Second Avenue subway in New York, right? That thing was conceived in the 60s by Governor Rockefeller, and it was delivered, half of it, or a small portion of it was delivered recently in 2023.
It's crazy.
It's difficult, but the bottom line is this. If we do not study academically, analyze the data, and make the right adjustments, you've got no chance of making this better. And this is one of the things they're saying. And what are the solutions they prescribe? A few things. One of the things they prescribe is right to left thinking. Begin with the end in mind, right?
Yep.
I'm a big fan of that. That's how I do all my programs, right? Yep. The other thing they talk about is you've got to do things that are replicable. They talk about modular construction. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It just becomes a logistical problem, right? So this is, everyone will say, oh, all construction jobs, they're one-off jobs. It's like, it's like creating something from scratch every time. I call BS on that. How many times have you fitted a door or a light fitting? Doesn't matter how fucking nice or different a facade is. A door is a door, a light fitting is a light fitting. A door frame is a door frame, a ceiling is a ceiling, right? So, and the real problem, actually, I think in construction is there are no construction firms, zero in the world. Let me explain that. Every construction firm is a management contractor. A construction firm is a firm that employs bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, plasterers, designers. That's called a vertically integrated construction firm. Ideally, you go to that firm and say, build me a high rise, and they would do everything in-house. There's not one firm that does that, ever.
Well, you're right, and they're not all there, but the thing you just described is basically just having people on staff all day, every day. Yeah. And the problem is they can't, because they have to keep them working. They have to keep them working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so the way they mitigate that risk is they become a horizontally integrated company. They are nothing but a collection of surveyors and cost managers, and they just manage contracts. Every construction firm, Turner, all of them, Skanska, they are just management contractors. They do not employ any trades at all. Right? So if you're a developer, you go to a construction firm who's actually just slicing that job into 30 or 40 contracts and managing that.
Well, nowadays they basically have, they have one, you have to choose a couple areas to self-perform. And a lot of people are choosing concrete because there's a good basically profit margin in it. But it's hard to basically have all those under. I mean, I'm not defending anybody, but at the same exact time, it's a lot of people to basically keep fed and keep working all the time. That's why you'll have a job order contract.
So that's why it's evolved that way, right? So I don't blame Skanskas and the Turners of this world for doing this, because it's a risk management control measure for them, right?
Totally.
But someone's employing these people and keeping them going.
Job to job to job. Yeah. And every job that comes out right now, it's just like, well, I can pay you more, so jump. Yeah. I can pay you more, so jump. Because just once again, where did all the people go?
Absolutely. So, there's no magic bullet in this book, but it's a very academic book based on real research. So it lays out properly.
So what year? It came out in 2023, I see.
Yeah.
So at the same time, was this post-COVID or pre-COVID research? Because I think everything's changed after that.
Oh, I mean, he's been doing research all his academic life and publishing. He's a very prolific publisher of academic papers.
Do you think that if he could write basically how big things get done post-COVID, would there be a different verbiage? No.
Not at all, because he was talking about the big jobs like the HS2 railway line in the UK is one of the examples. Muskrat Falls in Newfoundland, Canada is another example of a job that's grossly over budget, never going to make its money back for anyone, right? But politically, it was a necessary job. So, the political factor is always underplayed.
Yeah.
But if you're a private sector developer looking to make a return on investment in your capital, you should read this book, and you could be better at procuring things and managing things.
Well, I mean, this book and this kind of like talk, it's always, people always ask that question, is like, what's this? What's next? What are you going to do? Is, just in this profession with commissioning or QAQC or project management, and because I tell people all the time, like, commissioning, even though it's voodoo, where it's just like, you can do anything, you can learn everything. You're literally managing, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're involved in everything. So you can actually then choose, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? How do you do it? And these kind of books, and basically, all my mentors, they're always asking me, what is it you want to do? At the end of the day, I'm trying to find out my purpose, right? But at the end of the day, I always basically say is like, if I could do one thing, it would be basically helping teams to basically be able to deliver the projects, helping teams to basically start with the end in mind, like you said, and then basically see the problems, as they come up, before they come up. So you can basically, catch them small, right? Remember, it's like, like the Patriot, aim small, miss small. Like, so it's just like, you want to basically solve the problems. So at the end of the day, you're delivering the project. Yeah. But at the same time, you're stopping all the risks.
I mean, projects are risky, right? There's no two ways about it. And the other problem, I guess, that I've taken away from this is when it's public money, i.e. taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
no one gets the bullet in the head, right?
Well, and also too is what always gets me about the public projects or the federal projects is like you're always like, I don't get it. There's so much project controls and accounting, like, and everyone's supposed to be watching every cent. How does it not work? It always gets me how it's just like, I mean, we're audited every week, every day. Like, I mean, everything has to be controlled, 2 signatures, this. But when you're dealing with billions and trillions of dollars, I just never understood how projects can, like you said, go 20 years over and this and that. It's just, I mean, I understand it, but I just never.
It's a lack of accountability. It's
Yeah.
corruption. It's cronyism. It's politics.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to say those words out loud, but it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, no, this can't be happening in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
You
That we
know?
can put a man on the moon and get him back safely, amazingly. And yet we still can't build buildings on time, on budget, on quality. Tell me why. This book tries to answer that very succinctly, actually, and it does offer up some solutions. But when you lay the politics on everything, I don't think the solutions can be applied. But anyway, shout out to Ben Flyberg and Dan Gardner. Great. I now follow Dan Gardner on his Substack. He is an awesome thinker. He writes about everything, culture, politics. He is a really smart guy. And Ben Flyberg is probably one of the most prolific researchers in project management out there. So I recommend this book to everybody. And Ben, I know you didn't want to come on my podcast, but come on, dude. I really want to interview you about this.